right, and we're back for another episode of the Lakers Fast Break podcast. It's Gerald Glassford. Come right back at you here from Lakers Fast Break, Pop Culture Cosmos, Inside Sports Fantasy Football, and Game Source. We truly appreciate everything you do for us. Joe's at it again. Plus, if you can, please like, share, subscribe, follow, or do whatever you can to support us right here at the Lakers Fast Break, Pop Culture Cosmos, where we cover the latest news and trends in pop culture. And my gosh, there's a lot going on in pop culture this week, and we'll cover it for you on the PCC Multiverse that drops on Friday. Plus, also as well, Inside Sports Fantasy Football, Game Source, where we cover the latest news and trends in video games. Our good friends at LakersBall.com. Please be part of the many great conversations they have each and every week right there at LakersBall.com. Plus, our good friends at the Hoopheads Podcast Network. There you go, posing right there for you, Big Joe. Also as well, Lakerholics.com. LakerTom's got a ton of great things there waiting for you at Lakerholics.com. Plus a big shout out at our friend, Mr. Jamie Sweet. He has some 5 things there for you as well. But remember, as always, since Joe threw me off earlier, we're going to go ahead and make sure to let you know that you got, please give us that 5-star review wherever you get your podcasts. And plus also as well, if you can like, share, subscribe, follow, or do anything that you can to support all of that, which I mentioned, plus our good friends at Hoopheads Podcast Network. Big shout out to you at YouTube. Please go ahead and like and subscribe. If you can, it is sincerely appreciated. Well, the news never stops for Los Angeles Lakers fans out there, because each and every week something little is always added. I mean, if you're on a team like Orlando, if you follow Orlando, or if you follow Indiana, or if you follow a team like Charlotte or something like that, you can take a couple weeks off, and you don't think you can really need to miss a beat or anything like that. There's no really need to go ahead and keep up to date each and every day, because those teams, they just go through the motions. They're on summer vacation. They're planning for the draft. They're planning for free agency. That's pretty much it. With the Lakers, there's always some sort of news going on, because they're still trying to find a head coach. They had another interview this week, reportedly. So we'll go ahead and talk about that. But the big news this week was comments made by Lakers owner Jeannie Buss in the LA Times to longtime LA sports writer Bill Plaschke. And I think anybody out there who knows LA sports knows Bill Plaschke. He's just done a sensational job over the years, very opinionated. He's been on a lot of ESPN shows, but he did get a chance to sit down and speak to, well, Joe doesn't like him, but he did get to speak to, at least he got a chance to speak out to Jeannie Buss this week, and she had a lot of things to say. And here today to talk about that, also as well, Kenny Atkinson getting interviewed for the head coaching gig. And as well, will LeBron James pick up the extension? As of now, it's looking like possibly that will be the case, but is it a sure thing? We'll talk about that as well. Plus, the NBA playoffs is still going on. Big victory for Milwaukee and a big choke for Boston. We always love to see that. But here today to talk about what's going on with Jeannie Buss and her comments in the LA Times. 2 great guests indeed. He's back again. First up, first man here, the man behind Lakerholics.com. Please go ahead and check out his articles and all the things he shares on Twitter today at LakerTom on Twitter. It is LakerTom and LakerTom. You read some of the things that Jeannie Buss said, and I'll just break down a couple of things that, yes, she does have Phil Jackson and Magic Johnson involved in what's going on as far as having their ear. Yes, she does appreciate the Rambuses and everything that they do, especially Kurt, on whatever he supposedly does for the organization. Yes, she is very upset that the Lakers, with all the money that was spent and the fact that we're over on the cap, that we didn't get any results out of it, and she's growing impatient for whatever that means. And yes, she says that the team is going to be run without the interference of Clutch, according to her. So I want to hear your thoughts on that. She basically said that everything that people already were speculating on and had a good feeling about, I don't know if it really provided any revelations for us, but it sure had us talking, didn't it?
Well, I think it's really important that Jeannie's normal modus operandi has been to stay in the background. I've heard people say that she sort of emulated her father in that respect, that while Jerry stayed in the background, he certainly had a whole bunch of other distracting things happening around him that he was always in the news. And Jeannie, has pretty much stayed in the background. But I think that this is a period of time in the franchise with what's happened that it's appropriate for the owner or the governor of the team to step forward and address all of the various rumors that are going around. And I thought she did an excellent job of doing that. I've been as critical as anybody about Jeannie's responsibility for the problems that the Lakers have had at times. And I've always felt that we've left championships on the table simply because we were not run as efficiently as we could have been. That very often we made decisions for the wrong reasons. But we have so many advantages and we have been able to get the superstars, and that's been the thing that's changed the whole thing. So, and Jeannie's won a championship. So when you look at all of these things down here, I think there's a couple of things that need to be said that weren't explicitly focused on that conversation. The first is that she's not happy with where the Lakers are. You don't spend that much money on salaries and luxury taxes and not even make the playoffs. That's an embarrassment. And so I think that even though she didn't say anything specifically, I think it's very obvious that this is Rob Pelinka's last year unless things really work out well. So I think that's the first thing. The team is going to be held accountable. Second thing, I don't disagree with her. I think that, and Cray, I've been as guilty as anybody else of jumping on the Ramby and the seemingly countless numbers of, as long as you're part of the Laker family, you have my phone. You're in my Rolodex. I'm going to ask your opinions. But if I were the owner of the Lakers, I'd want to know what Magic Johnson thinks to do. I'd want to know what Kurt Rambis thinks to do. I'd want to know what Phil Jackson thinks we should do. But I sure would hold Rob Pelinka responsible for making all of the right decisions. And last year, he didn't make the right decisions. They chose the wrong players, and this is the most glaring error of all, they totally underestimated the odds that this thing would fall apart and be a total disaster. And, as a financial executive, that's the one thing that you cannot do. You cannot risk everything else by gambling too much, especially when you're in a position of strength, and the Lakers were at that point in time. So I gave Jeannie an A for coming out and saying what she's going to say. What do you expect her to? She's not going to come out and say that Rambis has worked for us for 40 years and I don't think he's worth crap. I'm not going to go out and ditch your best friend or say that she's not. Those are two people that have a lot to do with this franchise. And I like the fact that Jeannie holds those things important. That has some advantages, obviously. I wish the franchise was run in a more professional manner with professional people. And I wish we'd have a wide net and get the best people in the world rather than just the best people who happen to have a link in the Lakers network. But it is what it is. She is what she is. And you got to remember one thing. This is a girl who fired her brother and took the club from him. So she's not going to let the thing fall apart, and she will keep people accountable, but she will give them more time than probably fans would. But if you were in her situation, I'm not sure that we wouldn't be doing the same.
I can tell you, I would definitely not be doing the same. And you said it's not falling apart. Define to me what is not falling apart when the Lakers didn't even make the playoffs this year and have very few vet draft choices, very few assets.
So what do you want her to do that she's not doing? Fire Rob Pelinka?
Clean house. Clean the whole house.
Rob Pelinka? Well, we fired the coach.
Sell the team, which she's not going to do, which she stated she's not going to do. She should sell the team.
Come on.
If you can't get it done, sell the team.
Gerald, if you've ever had a business, Joel understand, if you ever had a business that was your business, this was your family business.
I understand that.
For a fan to say, sell the team when you are the most successful NBA franchise out there, is really kind of, I don't even know how I take that.
Well,
she's the owner of the team.
First of all, they're not the NBA's most successful team. In the past 10 years, have they been the most successful team?
They have 17 NBA championships.
You're going to make me repeat myself again?
Franchise dollar-wise. Second only to the New York Knicks.
You're really going to make me repeat myself.
If there's any good time to sell, it should be now.
No.
But also here today, amongst another guest I see coming up. Well, you know what? I'm sorry. I'm telling you, I have a different way of viewing things. I see more, again, as
the best solution is for her to give the club to me. I'd love to have the $1 billion that it's worth, the billions that it's worth. And then I would run the club the way that I would run the club, which would be totally different than the way she ran the club. But
you also like the Russell Westbrook trade, so I don't know about that. But also here today to talk about this. Actually, we've also got another guest as well. He's back after a long hiatus, but here as well, good man indeed. You got to go ahead and catch him at LakersBall.com. It is Ox 1947. It's Joe Soro. Joe, you read what Jeannie said. She's not going to sell the team. She basically has everything out there, is what she said in regards to the Ramby, Bill Jackson, Clutch, Magic Johnson, Rob Pelinka. LakerTom and I are already disagreeing on how she should go about things. But your thoughts on the comments made by Jeannie Buss this week?
My thoughts is I don't pay attention to Bill Platsky or Jay Donde or any of those clowns. Jeannie was complaining about having the fourth highest payroll and not even making the playoffs. That's kind of a wasted time comment at that point. No one's going to feel sorry for you because you have the fourth highest payroll. You're a franchise that would likely sell for at the very least $5 billion. Her father bought this business, what was it, 43 years ago for $67 million. Again, don't talk about money. Do that behind the scenes, not in public. Right now, she would. I love Tom's question because I think it's a relevant question to someone who actually does own a business. It's not the Lakers. I don't have fans standing outside when I'm doing a transaction and rioting. I get that. But there's a structure that needs to happen, right? The structure is all over the place. Where you're getting advice from Kurt Rambis. You're getting advice from, allegedly, Kurt Rambis. You're getting advice from Phil Jackson. You're getting advice from the mailman. You're getting advice from Kurt's second cousin. You're getting all these advices. What does that do when you have a bunch of stuff and nothing? What do they say? Jack of all trades, masters of none. There needs to be a clear chain of command here, and there isn't. Now, there is one thing on this planet that can be a complete blank show and still come out smelling like roses, and that's sports. We've seen it in the past with the Showtime Lakers at the beginning. All these coaching issues and Westhead getting fired, and then Riley takes over and he wins a title in 82. And then before then, Jack McKinney and him getting hurt and blah, blah, blah. So in sports, you can actually run a terrible organization and still win. The Chicago Bulls kind of proved that towards the last three-peat, right? Jerry Reinsdorf was, I don't know if he was ordering Jerry Krause to start looking to rebuild, but that's kind of what was going on. And they were looking at every player on the planet that wasn't on their team to bring in so they can start this rebuild when you've got a championship team right there. So they still won. Shaq and Kobe, they're going back and forth. Phil Jackson wanted to trade Kobe for Jason Kidd. They still won. And so on and so on. Do you see where I'm getting at here, guys? So we can sit here and complain about the organization and how they run things, but this is sports. And sports can still be successful even though it's run like a crazy person. Again, I have another word for it, but I'm trying to keep this PG. So I don't know why she said what she said today or this week. It was absolutely useless. No one gives a crap. That's for us to say. That's for the fans, the analysts, whatever, to say we had the fourth largest salary in the league, and it was bad because I know there's been some comments about we're cheap, we haven't spent money. I'm like, wait a minute, we're fourth in payroll. What do you mean we didn't spend money? Oh, we didn't sign Dave Caruso. Okay, would Caruso have made a difference if we had traded for Westbrook and kept Caruso? I don't think so. Maybe he wins us 2 or 3 more games. It wouldn't have mattered. So where do we go from here? At this point, the easiest thing to say is, can we maybe get some organization at this point if we are run like a farm, like a going out of business farm? Because the result this time was we stunk. It was, in my opinion, the worst Lakers season I've ever seen. What's next? Okay, is James Worthy going to leave Sportsnet and join Jeannie because he was a former Laker? How many times are we going to hear this? Just because you're a former Laker doesn't mean you're a good executive.
Nepotism runs deep in this organization, though.
I get it, but are they capable of doing the job?
They're just holding places until one of the Buss kids is old enough to take over.
And that's the problem.
Joey and Jesse are in the wings.
So what are they going to do? Weren't they doing well in scouting?
They're doing the scouting. One's assistant general manager. I think that's Jesse. And Joey is the head scout, if I'm not mistaken.
So you got the Buss boys, pulling their weight, doing good scouting and getting good players, which we have in the second round, free agency. You also had Ryan West, who was doing a good job, and you got rid of him for I don't know what reason. What are you doing?
He got recruited from another team, paid more money, and given a bigger position.
He was shown the door.
He was jettisoned. He was jettisoned.
He was shown the door.
Yeah, he was probably let go because of
and into the waiting arms of one Pat Riley because he's
he went to Golden State.
No, well, when he first
I thought he went to the Mavericks.
When he first left, I believe he went to the Heat, Gerald. He may be with another organization.
He is with Golden State now.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Is that where he is right now?
I believe he is with Golden State because he got married to the famous golfer.
What's her name? I can't think.
Yeah, I know who we're talking about. Yeah, she was. Yeah. So I mean, it's just.
It's all related to the Phil. Phil Jackson. It's all the Phil Jackson overflow, man.
This
is because
the bottom line
doesn't get along with certain people.
The bottom line is this: there's 2 things they have to do in the next few months: get a coach with some sack, and get rid of Westbrook. You can sit here and you can do pirouettes, you can do ballet, you can do all this stuff. You can talk to 100 people. You can
Michelle Wee, by the way.
You can get Wilt's dead corpse up and have him give you some advice. Things. It doesn't matter. If you don't get the right coach and you don't get rid of Westbrook, this offseason is a failure. I don't care who you hire. And then we still have to wait for an 82-game season to see if our stars are going to make it to the playoffs healthy. There's a very thin thing going on here. It's very thin. You have very thin things going on. All this stuff doesn't matter. Every decision is going to be wrong if any of one of those 3 don't go right. It doesn't matter. You could bring Jerry West back. It won't matter. Trading LeBron and all that stuff. Let's be realistic here. Trading LeBron's not going to happen. These guys don't want him gone when he's going to break Kareem's record. When are those people who are paid to do this going to wake up? When are they going to wake up and have some common sense? Because this is likely the kind of people that are running things. And believe me, I've been around a lot of. By the way, why the hell do they call her a governor?
Yeah, team governor is the official representative of the franchise.
Governor, you have to be elected to be a governor.
Saying team owner is not a good thing anymore. Saying team
it's not. Okay. I bet I know what that's about. Anyways, yes. So tell me exactly See, that's the stuff they do. They worry about. They worry about nonsense. They worry about things
Titles,
that have no bearing. You know what I put on my? You know what I put on my business card? My company name, my name, and my number.
That's it.
That's it. Not governor, not president, not I'm the man. Yeah, but be careful what you say because someone might think you're meaning something else. This is the crap we have to listen to instead of focusing on the job of winning. At least if you're doing your job and you lose, you can go to the press conference, you can go to the exit meetings and say, look, we stunk. We tried to do everything we could. Instead, you're thinking we're talking about the Ramby and Phil Jackson wants to trade LeBron. We all know LeBron doesn't like Phil Jackson. That's why she brought him in. He does not like Phil Jackson. And the reason why he doesn't like Phil Jackson, he made a comment a few years back about the players' attire.
He was
and
he felt
LeBron's posse.
Melo. He felt he was mistreating Melo.
No, it wasn't about that. LeBron doesn't care about anyone but himself. LeBron's posse, that's what it's about. Okay? The posse thing, because there was innuendo of you know what, right? So
there was a comment about the entourage. I remember.
Okay,
that.
Right. So he used the word posse.
He used the word posse.
We knew the
I know
undertones of that.
I know what word he used.
So now where are we going to go?
I referred to it as the entourage. I probably tried to.
Yeah, but let's be real here. Come on, G. We're adults here. So now,
and so of our listeners. Many of our listeners are adults.
I'm just repeating what happened. I've never said anything about somebody's posse. Okay. I just never have. I don't know what.
Now we're a posse. Okay, you maybe want to say we're a posse.
Okay. So if I
go ahead, Magic Man.
Also here today.
You're on the floor.
Yes, after a long hiatus, is a good man indeed. He's the Madman or the Magic Man from Toronto. I'll say madman because he was mad enough to think that Toronto was going to go ahead and go a long way in the playoffs. But it is Sean Grice, but he did give me a good one on our emails, so I will give him that. Sean, great to have you back, my friend. Your thoughts on the comments? Again, for me, it was just much to do about nothing personally. It just really didn't move the needle. What I think she should do with the team and what will be done with the team are going to be two vastly different things. But I'm hoping that by some miracle upon miracle, by the way she's setting it up based on these comments, that the Lakers will still get it done. But I don't hold much hope right now for that happening.
I'm as pessimistic as you are, Gerald, to be quite honest. I didn't hear Tom's comments on what Jeannie said, but I could just echo what you and Joe said. I think it was some zero. I don't think it amounts to anything.
Can I say this? I think LakerTom, I don't want to speak for LakerTom, but I think from the inference I got that he was a lot more positive on Jeannie Buss's thoughts. Is that a good way to say it, Tom?
I think she just addressed each of the issues with exactly what you would expect her to say, and I thought that was good. She didn't dodge any of the issues. She addressed every one of them. She addressed the clutch situation. She addressed LeBron's situation. She addressed the extension. She addressed the disappointment, putting pressure on Pelinka, and you just got to remember this is the girl that fired her brother. So if the Lakers have another year like this one,
I would have fired her brother.
You'll get part of your wish that Pelinka will be gone, and whoever's the coach will probably be gone already too, just that soon.
So in the long run, Gerald, I think I agree with a lot of what Joe had to say there. I do agree that when LeBron signed with us, it was very, like Joe said, it's very transactional. Like it very little emotion with LeBron. He was moving his family to California, Los Angeles. He's got a lot of fingers and a lot of different pies, so it was just a natural move. It just so happened we had the cap space, and the situation wasn't dire because Magic was waiting at the front door, and whatever people think about Magic Johnson from his Twitter profile, the man is just a basketball savant. He could talk circles around most people when it comes to the game, and That's why LeBron listened to him. And Joe also said that moving forward, what Jeannie said amounts to very little in the way of, drawing empathy or understanding from fans. I mean, the fans aren't going to care. They're not going to care about her gripes and her complaints.
They just care about wins and losses.
That's it. And when it comes down to it, I got to be honest with you, Gerald. When we were 10-11 and Russell Westbrook came out with a quote, and the reporter asked him, how do you feel being a Laker coming back home? And he said, oh, yeah, being around my family is great. Didn't mention the Lakers, didn't mention the organization. And to me, that was the canary in the mine. It was almost like, okay, they're trying to figure things out. And I think at the beginning, when they all came together, they all thought it would work and they all wanted to give it a chance. But as soon as Russ saw, and if they saw it early that it wasn't going to work, does anybody not think Russell Westbrook saw it too? I think he did.
The Russell Westbrook thing it's become beyond that now. It was a bad fit because Russell Westbrook doesn't respect anything. He doesn't respect the coach. He doesn't respect the team. And then LeBron and AD are kind of like buddies, and they've kind of stood away because Westbrook's very demonstrative. He's very defensive. He can be intimidating if you're, don't have enough, cojones. And then of course you have Frank Vogel and you have Rob Pelinka, and even before we won a title, before losing out last year when AD got hurt, and this year. There's things I always pay attention to when it comes to someone's personality. When there's an aura of fakeness, which Rob Pelinka has and Frank Vogel has, it always kind of sets a precedent. It always makes sense down the road. When things kind of get hard, when you're a fake, you get exposed even more. That's why you love Phil Jackson. That's why you love Pat Riley. That's why you love Jerry West. And to some degree, Greg Popovich. And the reason why my disdain for Popovich is because every time the Lakers got something on, we'd always whine about it. That's the main why he's irritated me. But he's an honest guy. He'll tell you what's up. So when you're a fake, and this goes for not just basketball in life, when you're a fake, at some point you're going to get exposed. And right now, when things are hitting rock bottom, you're getting exposed for what you are. You're fake. You can't deal with the pressure. You can't deal with whatever because you've been faking it the whole time. And then now it's like, sorry, now are you going to fire this guy? You're going to fire that guy? When does it end? When does it end? But in the end, again, it's about the talent on the floor. That's the beautiful thing about sports. You can have turmoil in the front office. You can have turmoil with the fans. You can have turmoil in the media. It doesn't matter. As long as there's a performance that's working on the court. Unfortunately, we put in the worst player on this team. And some of us supported it because the track record said that LeBron can play with anyone. This is the first time in 19 years he was not able to play with this guy. And don't tell me about the injuries. Everybody keeps mentioning the injuries. They played more games this year than they did last year. They went 42-30 last year. And we're the number one defense in the league. This guy disintegrated this team's chemistry completely, got Frank Vogel fired. Now Pelinka's probably a year away from getting fired. And then who do you bring in? Who? I don't know. Who's talented out there that's an executive? I think it's the hardest job in the NBA next to the coach. It's to hire a competent executive that can actually general manage or be a player personnel. It's the hardest thing in the NBA. It just you're only as good as your talent on the floor, and it's extremely hard to get talent in the NBA. You have to either get the lottery pick, or you got to get a LeBron or an AD in a trade that's been forced, or you run into a situation like New Orleans where your star is injured. And then there's turmoil there because he can't get healthy, even though it's almost mimicking exactly what happened to Joel Embiid. And that's what we do as a society. That's what we do. We're a weak-minded, just society. We don't. Zion Williamson had never done anything wrong. He's injured. What do you want him to do? Well, he's fat. Well, his ankle is injured. How the hell is he going to work out? We'll stop eating gumbo. Okay.
Well, but they're okay. Let me just say this before. Hold on. Let me just say this before I turn it over to Sean. His weight, his size is because of the fact he uses so much torque when he goes and it does his moves, whatnot, maybe cause an effect on reasons why his size, his weight may be the cause for these continual problems. So with that in mind, New Orleans now has to figure out, should we go ahead and invest 5 years, 200 some odd $1 million on him and go ahead on an extension on that, knowing that these can be continual problems down the road.
You have
Sean,
to.
They might be forced
Sean,
to. They're it looks like more and more they're against the wall. But Sean, I want to make sure. I'm sorry to keep on muting on you because we're just bouncing off your mic. But please go ahead, share your thoughts, and I'll get back to LakerTom.
Yeah, sure, Gerald, and just to comment on what you and Joe were saying. I mean, to me, the problem isn't necessarily the weight; it's the girth. And I'm not trying to be a smartass here, but there is a difference. And some people just have weight problems. I mean, Oliver Miller was a very good basketball player. He just had a weight problem. He was just well over 300 pounds for most of his career. But he could still
the explosive
play.
game that Zion has, it's not conducive to the size he is, the girth that you're saying.
Yeah, exactly, Gerald. The amount of pressure that he needs to apply to put the ball on the floor, it's just not meant to be that way. Sean Kemp was probably the most explosive athlete I've ever seen live in his prime. I didn't see Michael Jordan in his prime, but I saw Sean Kemp in 1995, and his power and speed for his size was incredible. It was only when he got a little fat in Cleveland that his game sort of diminished. He could still play, but he wasn't the same force. Going back to our situation, nepotism really runs hard here, and it's hard to ignore, whether it's Jeannie and the Buss family, whether it's now Clutch, because now Clutch is involved, and they've become a vestigial of the Buss nepotism here. And it just seems like what Joe was saying is that unless they find the right mind to come in and fix the issues, that's what's really needed here. Look, one thing we know about our organization is they can find that diamond in the rough. They found Alex Caruso. They found Austin Reeves. They'll find guys. They always do. The Joey and Jesse. They find guys. The defenders develop them, and they can come up and make a contribution. Now let's hope we keep Austin Reeves and we don't make the same mistake we did with Alex. The problem I see with this team is it's between the fourth guy and the eighth guy. You need to find guys in between that are role players that you can find between 10 and 17 million for 3 or 4 years and contribute. Gerald, you were asking last week for some under the radar players that the Lakers may want to reach out to. Charlotte's got a couple of them. If I was an NBA GM right now, I would sign 2 restricted free agents with the Charlotte Hornets. I'd sign Bridges to the max as much as I could and force Michael Jordan to match that. And I'd also sign Cody Martin. Cody Martin is a really up-and-coming 3-and-D player, and that's somebody who an organization needs to look at and bring in. Guys like that.
Well, again, if he's anything like his brother and how well he's developing, and you see him making a contribution to playoffs, that could be something deep. But LakerTom, let's get back to you to close out this part of the conversation with Jeannie Buss. Again, her comments. Again, you were very supportive and thought basically it is what it is when it comes to what she explained. But if for Lakers fans out there that actually got a chance to read the article in detail and read the interview, does it provide some hope for Lakers fans down the road that they can actually right this ship sooner rather than later?
I think the single biggest thing that jumps out at me as to why I'm very optimistic that the Lakers will be able to solve the problems this summer. And I think Sean hit it right on the nose, because basically once you get past LeBron and AD, it's that next group of players, the next 4 or 5 players in there there's where we don't match up with anybody, because we expected THT and Nunn to be those guys that were paid a little more than everybody else. Well, they bombed completely. Nunn never played. THT regressed. And then Westbrook was the one you expected to also be in that group of people. So it was a total failure. And what's really odd is if you look back at who else we were looking at signing last summer before we blew our wad on Westbrook, they were all people that and a bunch of them we're looking at this summer. They were the logical people. So we made a huge mistake. LeBron and AD started it, and Rob fell into it, and everybody thought it's got to work. Nobody, LeBron can play with anybody. Westbrook is saying all the right things. I've always been a Russell fan, and I jumped on board the bandwagon, even though I've been screaming for Woody or for Buddy Hield since I don't know when. But the thing I think is important is that getting the right players is really always the key, and it is an art. It is not a science. A lot of the time we get the right players, but a lot of the time we didn't. I mean, how do you explain Drummond? How do you explain DeAndre Jordan? How do you explain the fascination that Vogel had with certain players and so forth? So nobody gets it right all of the time. Jerry West didn't get it right all of the time, and Pelinka basically, I think that I'm in the same place if you take away the histrionics of the fan. And as I've gotten older, I've become less histrionic, I can understand everything that Jeannie is saying. She's saying basically, listen, I trust Rob. He's a smart guy. He should be able to figure this out. Just get the guys that you would have gotten last year that you didn't screw up this year, and take some lessons that, hey, better get a better price if the guy's got injuries. You better consider that as one of the factors. But we need 4 or 5 guys who can really play, who are guys that, like Sean said, $10 to $17 million guys. And we got a chance to get those, because we can get 2 of them for Russ. We may have to throw in a draft pick. We can get 1 of them for Taylor Horton-Tucker and Nunn. Well, we'll probably have to throw in a draft pick. And we get 1 of them by hard capping the team and going to the full MLE, and the BAE will be the 4th guy. And so it's doable. It's doable to go out there and make those 4 moves, bring 4 or 5 guys in, take all of the guys that we had from last year that were any good, Reeves and all of those guys, and just slide them down to the bench. They're the reserves now. They're not the guys who are part of the 8-man rotation, Instead, you really focus on developing that. And we have lots of good opportunities and situations. We'll have to be lucky, and a lot of it will depend upon what happens with the teams, especially Charlotte and the Pacers. Those are the 2 teams that really have a couple of players that we could use. If we could get Gordon and Rozier, for example, or Brogdon and Hield, that's a start for that. And then you just work on the next one. I like Hartenstein, the guy I would pay the full max to him in order to get him. He's a guy that could really, I like Claxton, the kid from the Nets, is really good.
Can't shoot free throws.
There's several guys that you could offer the full $10.2 million MLE, and then we could hard cap. Guys that, Bruce Brown, for example, $10.2 million might score him. There's really good players that we can get out there, and we only need 3 or 4 of them, and Anthony Davis and LeBron James to stay healthy, man.
Well, I agree. I agree with you on Hartenstein. I took a closer look at Hartenstein. His numbers for about a
defense,
4 or 5.
Man, his defense is great.
$4 or $5 million. I could see paying. Claxton good defender, shot blocker, but terrible at the free throw line. You saw him in the playoffs.
But Claxton also is a guy that he can defend all the way out to the 3-point line, and you could probably get him for the BAE. You could get him for the BAE.
You can't play him in the clutch time because he can't make free throws.
Well, you don't need to play him in the clutch time, but he's a guy you can put in. He wouldn't be, if you get Hartenstein, the starting front court is going to be LeBron, AD, and Hartenstein.
Well, I'll tell you what, it's just great to have this conversation anyways, but I do want to hear everyone's thoughts out there in the comments on Facebook or YouTube. Special shout out to our YouTube audience. Special shout out to Felix, who's here as well. Thank you so much for joining us once again. We know Dallas is beating Phoenix, so we'll give everybody an update on the NBA playoffs before we head on out. But Joe, you're up right now because the latest coaching candidate, come on down. You're the next contestant on. The price for the Lakers is wrong. But yes, it is coming right now. The latest rumors to be had is that Golden State assistant coach and former Brooklyn Nets coach, Kenny Atkinson, who wore out his welcome with Kyrie and Kevin, which is, even though he was a good coach that took a overachieving team to the playoffs, which actually took them farther in the playoffs and won more games in the playoffs than this current Brooklyn Nets team. So I'll just leave it at that. But your thoughts on Kenny Atkinson as the latest contender for the coaching position?
Well, it sounds like Kenny Atkinson might have been one of those coaches who held Kevin and Kyrie accountable. And then they had to fire him and get Steve Nash and insult him day one by saying, well, we don't really need a coach. No, you do need a coach, you buffoon. That's why you got your ass swept. Okay, you need a coach in the NBA to tell you what to do. You guys aren't Bill Russell in 1967, 68, and 69. Okay, so plus half the time you weren't even there. And is Atkinson going to hold AD and LeBron accountable in practice when they screw up? What? Those guys don't screw up. They're human beings. They screw up, and sometimes you gotta lay the hammer down, right? No, not likely they're going to hire him. I think they're just kind of buying their time. They're interviewing this guy, kind of getting a feel for here, getting a feel for there. I don't know who they're going to go with. I have absolutely no idea. Everyone's scared that Doc Rivers is going to end up coming here. I don't know why they're worried about that. I think they're just, again, back to the whole brain activity for people. Why would Doc go to the Lakers? Why? He's already got a job. So, and they didn't lose because of Doc Rivers. They lost because James Harden is a clown. So James Harden. James Harden has no ability to be meaningful when it matters. He's too busy thinking about extracurricular activities. Joel Embiid puts in the work, talks a little too much. If he stopped talking about how great he is, he'd probably win an MVP. So it's just not this NBA is full of babies and entitled a-holes. It's everywhere, and you just have to deal with it. There's a very few are respectable that you can say these guys are kind of adults. You got Giannis, you got guys like Jimmy Butler. I know there's been some scuffs and this and that, but those kind of things are more about what I like, which is holding people accountable. And when you're living in a prima donna era in league, I'm
not going to argue with Butler because he turns it up in the playoffs. He's one of those few players that actually turns it way up in the playoffs, and we're seeing that right now.
Look what's going on. So the last I checked, Dallas was whooping Phoenix, right?
Game 7 coming up.
Right now, they're up by 20 with 10 minutes left. Yep. So Phoenix is starting to come down, and it's not looking good. If Phoenix loses, are you all going to be sitting on top of your houses and saying Monty, Monty, Monty again? I keep telling you guys, you keep making this mistake. Monty Williams is the greatest coach that ever lived. Ty Lue is the greatest coach that ever lived. Everybody keeps yapping about these coaches. In the end, it's about the players, man. In the NBA, it's about the players. The coach matters in terms of scheme, but they have to execute it, and they have to stay healthy. And the back and forth on whether Ayton should be given the max, you're getting an idea why there's a question there. So we're going to witness in 2019, Toronto won a championship because half the Golden State Warriors got injured when it mattered, right? That's what happened. Otherwise, they would have won. This year is really the first year in a long time where no one knows anything right now of who's going to win it. And that hasn't happened in a long time. That hasn't happened in a long time. So you might see something different this year. You might see Dallas versus Miami again for the third time, but there was no one. Well, I know Miami was a 1 seed, but people were assuming Milwaukee, Brooklyn will take them out eventually. But I wasn't anticipating Miami, Dallas in the finals, possibly at the beginning of the year, heck, even at the All-Star game. So I just need Boston to be out. And it does make me sad because I do like Tatum. I do like Smart. I do like Horford. These are ridiculously likable players. I like those guys. I really have a lot. Udoka has just – I like what he's done. But they're wearing that jersey, and that jersey has 17 titles. We can't have them get 18. It's as simple as that. They were wearing any other jersey. I would have been fine cheering for them to go all the way. Once those guys bow out, I'm going to relax. I'm going to basically sit back and go, okay, I'm going to enjoy the game like I did yesterday. By the way, that Milwaukee Celtic ending was, wow. I was eating sushi by myself at a restaurant, my favorite sushi place, and I was talking to people, and I don't know why yesterday everyone wanted to talk to me there for some reason. I have no idea why. Usually people leave me alone, but I'm sitting there, going back and forth while I'm eating and talking, and just watch probably the best game of the playoffs, in my opinion.
It was a good game indeed, but yes, Kenny Atkinson is the latest coaching interview for the Los Angeles Lakers. Sean,
a little long-winded. Sorry.
Yes, no worries. But Sean, before we head to finally an NBA playoffs update in full, your thoughts on Kenny Atkinson, and LakerTom, if you want to chime in as well on Kenny Atkinson. Solid coach. I have no problems with it, but again, is he the answer for what the Lakers need?
Probably not. I probably not, but he's got a really strong offensive mind. He's very creative. It would almost be a polar opposite of what Vogel was. And going back to what Joe had mentioned, it wasn't really KD and Kyrie that got Kenny Atkinson fired. It was DeAndre Jordan. Kenny Atkinson didn't want to play DeAndre Jordan. Kenny Atkinson told KD and Kyrie that we're going to play Jared Allen. Jared Allen is a better defender. Our numbers are better with Jared Allen on the floor, and we have a better chance of winning. And they both went to Sean Marks and tattled on Kenny, and that was the end of Kenny.
And that was at the end of Jared Allen, too. And look what happened there.
I didn't hear that.
Yeah, I believe he's right on that, yes.
That's even worse. Wow.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
So, and the story goes that Kenny was actually willing to play DeAndre a little bit. Not what he wanted, but a little bit. But DeAndre just whined to Kevin Durant. And I guess Kevin, like Joe said, for some reason, I'm a millennial. A lot of millennials are really passive aggressive.
Let's not go into that. I don't want to go into that.
Good job, my friend. Thank you for saying that, Sean. You're the man.
Boy, I can't wait for the comments now.
I'm of that generation, so I can speak on this.
Tough love.
I don't come from that. My dad was an Irish immigrant. When I was 12 years old, I went up to him and I said, "Dad, I want a bike." He laughed at me and he said, "Shawnee, if you want a bike, go out and get a job." So I went down to the A&P. I applied for a job. I was the youngest 13-year-old who had a job. I had a job before anybody else in high school. So I come from a line of hard workers, and I am a millennial, and I could speak on this. And to me, that's the problem with LeBron. LeBron and Sean are the same age. I was born December 1984. LeBron Ramon James was born December 30th, 1984. He's passive aggressive. He's got to stop this nonsense and just move forward. You know, if you don't want to sign a long-term deal because you want to play year by year and year by year.
That's what I'll ask you. Okay, we'll go ahead and lead to the question before we go to NBA playoffs. Do you think he'll sign the extension in August? Yes or no?
I do not.
Okay.
Depends on what happens in the offseason, in my opinion.
Well, okay, Joe, do you think he'll answer the question? And then I'm going to lead it to LakerTom. And by the way, you made a new friend, Sean, in Joe. So I just want to let you know that. But
when you're right, you're right.
But yes or no?
You're right. This is not about me feeling good about what you're saying. It's right. It's true. Truth. I'm about truth. What? How do you say it in Spanish? Verdad?
Something like that, yes. But yes or no, do you think LeBron will sign the extension?
It depends on what happens in the offseason. The coach selection.
Yes or no. I love how I say yes or no, and he just, like a true politician, just goes in a different direction.
I'm going to be optimistic. Yes.
All right. LakerTom, you've heard the whole spiel.
I'd like to find out what DeAndre Jordan has on all of these coaches. You know, he must have some powerful blackmail information that he's able to demand all of this playing time when he can't even. Yeah, I mean, and it ends with every team with them finally deciding, that, you know what, this guy just can't play anymore.
I think now he's finally burned all the bridges. I think after this performance.
No, he hasn't been with the Kings yet. That's
true. Yet. But maybe Mike Brown will, after that tremendous coaching performance yesterday, will go ahead.
Actually, and the thing with Kenny,
and I'm being facetious when I say that.
Yeah, the thing with Kenny Atkinson, that was a great story, Sean. Great knowledge, man. There's a difference in how you demand your players respect you and the demand that they play and lead by example. And the good coaches, regardless of their philosophy toward the game of basketball, understand that every player is a separate island, man. And these guys make too much money that you got to keep them happy. So you've got to work your way around it, and you've got to be a psychologist. And in many ways, that for the NBA's coaching fraternity, that is probably the highest rewarded skill set. It's what made Phil Jackson Phil Jackson. It's why he won 11 rings, man. He was able to get MJ and Kobe and Shaq to play like team basketball when they basically felt like they could run the whole game themselves. So, I think LeBron and AD want to be coached. They want to be held responsible. I think part of Frank's problem is that Frank is not a demander. He's not. I wouldn't go as far. I mean, Joe would break. I don't mean this as an insult, Joe, but I think you would love a disciplinarian who would really just, crank the thing down and say, you don't play the way I want you to play, you don't play. And you have to balance that in the NBA with a little bit of tact, and it all comes from the respect that the coach has. So I like Atkinson. I like what he did. I like the way that Nets team played. They really were a team that really cared a lot about each other's game and about playing as a team. They played really well together. And I thought that's unusual because I don't know whether it's a prejudice that I guess against Kyrie and KD, but those are two players that are so dominant that it's hard to integrate them into an equal opportunity offense, like the Warriors, like the way that I thought that the Nets played. They had a lot of good players on that team. It wasn't just the superstars, and so I like Atkinson, and I feel that he would be a candidate that I would not be aghast if we ended up with, and there are some candidates in there that I would be aghast if we ended up with.
Well, let me ask you.
What was the last question?
The last question is
LeBron
LeBron.
signing extension.
Yeah,
My answer is almost the same as Joe's, because I do feel that LeBron will wait to see exactly who's hired as a coach and what moves the general manager makes and how the team looks. And if he likes what he sees, he'll agree to the extension.
I agree with you guys on that. That's something I think we should all agree on, is that he's going to take his time and wait until the last possibly hours.
He doesn't have any other way to add pressure.
Yeah.
That's the only way that he can really add pressure.
Yeah, exactly. And what are the Lakers going to do?
And Rich Paul will not allow him to not add that pressure.
Yeah, I agree with you on that. I agree with both of you guys on that. Sean Grice, being on the Eastern time zone and being late for him, he had to go ahead and check on out. Truly appreciate him stopping by. Once again, great to have him back. But before we head on out, guys, NBA update real quickly. Right now, we have Dallas in control, in command in the fourth quarter, leading by 20 with 4 minutes left in the fourth quarter. So it looks like they're going to go to a Game 7 this weekend. Very exciting. It's going to go back to the land of the sun to settle that score. We've already seen one elimination today, and that was Miami winning 4-2 in Philadelphia, and a very impressive win over Philadelphia. And as we talked about already and kidded about already, the disappearing James Harden, and a guy you think that if he were on the verge of getting a contract extension offered to him, which he is possibly could.
He's on the verge of that.
Yeah, on the verge of that, but it's on the verge of being a lousy contract extension after the way he played, with only taking one shot in the second half. I cannot believe, of all the times you do a no-show on the verge of, if you've done well, or at least if they have lost close and he had done well, he could have really cornered himself in a position where he could have gotten a nice fat contract extension. Now it's all up in the air as far as the future for him and what he's going to go ahead and get in the open market or with the Philadelphia 76ers. So we'll wait and see. I think he's past his prime. It was clear to see that many people also indicated that as well. So we'll see what happens there. But Philadelphia is out. Joel Embiid, who on top of that had a lousy week, not only did get the orbital fracture, not only does he have the thumb that's going to need and require surgery, not only did he lose out the MVP to Nikola Jokic, he just been a lousy week for him. He also got pushed. He was on the ground, on the floor, on the ground so much during the course of the series, especially tonight. Just sad to see his efforts go to waste with this team, but they've been eliminated and Miami moves on. Very impressive performance. Last but not least, we have the two other games that are going to head up on Friday, and that's Golden State after being humiliated in Memphis. Let me ask you this, Joe. Do you think they just went ahead and just, they saw that they just folded it in right away once they saw it wasn't going their way and just, we'll meet you in Golden State in Game 6 and we'll just go ahead and win it there? Or do you think it's something that Memphis is actually a lot better than what they thought they were?
Yeah, it was the classic because their star was out. They're like, oh, these guys are probably going to be unmotivated to finish. We can just finish it off here. And then going into the second quarter, like, wait a minute.
We saw how good they were without Morant during the course of the season. They were incredible.
Those guys probably don't pay attention to that. They're too into their own things.
Well,
if they knew that,
they don't expect the other team. They don't adjust for the other team. They play their game and demand that they.
If they knew that, and then on top of that, you had Mike Brown coaching them.
They thought they were in Sacramento.
I wonder what Sacramento's thinking right now. I remember watching the 2000 finals. Lakers were up 3-1, and they got shellacked by 33, I believe it was, by Indiana. And it was kind of status quo. Shaq always had a habit of quitting. That's why he was swept 6 times in his career. I think it's second most, or maybe tied for most. A lot of these guys do okay, we'll win it in Golden State. And I also remember that same year before the finals, the Lakers went up 3-1 against Portland, and they thought they were going to come back and win it win it at home in Game 5. They end up getting shellacked in Game 5 in LA, get shellacked in Game 6 in Portland, and then almost lost in Game 7. These guys, just like we were talking about during the year, these guys are not playing 48 minutes a game. their focus is in the toilet. They think they can just turn it on. There is no one in the NBA right now. I don't care if it's Giannis. I don't care if it's Harden, Joel Embiid, Ja Morant. Doesn't matter who. Jokic, doesn't matter. There isn't a single player in the NBA right now that has any ability to just turn it on. This league does not have that right now. You have very minimal guys that could do something like that. Guys like Kobe, guys like Shaq when he had Kobe, Michael Jordan, Tim Duncan. Those type of guys had the ability to do that. So
Giannis
is on. He's one of the few guys I watch playing who he's playing the whole time. So this
we'll talk about him in a sec.
He's not off and on. I mean, he's just not. And he's just a really good player. He's a consistent player. He cares. He's a good person. Teammates love him. I mean, to me, the NBA needs to really promote him. He is phenomenal in every way. And it's amazing, too, because the guy was picked 15. And the guy's won 2 MVPs, Defensive Player of the Year, and could win a second title. That's who we should be celebrating, not talking about what LeBron's doing or what AD's doing or what Kyrie's doing. Who cares about those guys? If you want to really promote the sport and get people to really, really kind of support it instead of hating it, because gambling is really what saves sports nowadays. And it's being kind of supported now by all the leagues because that's kind of how things have turned out. But gambling, COVID showed you that we don't need fans at the games for them to make money. Yeah, they may have lost a few bucks, but it's the TV contracts and the gambling that will always keep the major sports relevant. So as we've kind of gotten that, mindset, that's kind of how we've created everything. And a lot of these guys are getting paid $30 and $40 million. And a lot of the marginal players are getting paid 20 and 25. It makes sense why there's a lot more entitlement. It's a lot more diva in the NBA. And it's hard to cheer for certain players, even guys that are on your own team.
Well, I'll tell you what, it's very interesting to see, especially after the clutch performance last night by the entire Milwaukee Bucks team. Down by 14 in the fourth quarter. They came back strong to go ahead in Boston with Giannis hitting a 3 with blood streaming down his face, the whole dramatic 9 yards. He noticed nobody stopped the game while he was doing that. He just wanted to go ahead and make sure that they had that nice shot of him shooting that 3 with the blood streaming down. But you know what? Credit Jrue Holiday, tremendous defensive plays, just back to back. Just truly a sensational defensive player. That's the way to get it done. Maybe James Harden and Russell Westbrook should take note. But, I tell you what, that's an exciting series. It's going back to Milwaukee for Game 6 with Milwaukee leading 3-2. Before we head on out, guys, final predictions for the weekend. Joe, when it comes to what we're seeing in Boston and Milwaukee, what we're seeing in Phoenix and Dallas, and what we're seeing in Golden State and Memphis, we already know that Miami's moved on. What are the other 3 teams that are going to follow him? Follow that team this weekend.
I'm going to pick Phoenix to close it out at home. I'm going to pick Milwaukee to close out Boston, and Golden State to close out the Grizzlies.
Okay. LakerTom, any last
all
thoughts?
The favorites, huh? Well, yeah. The Bucks are going to close out. So
that one is the only one that you got to be kind of careful of, because Boston's defense, I was watching the game yesterday, as much as I could without being interrupted. It was sometimes their defense is just stout, and Milwaukee just went up another level.
I love what I love more about that. The most thing that I thought was the greatest about that game is stupid Van Gundy just continually saying that Giannis was a dumb idiot for shooting the 3s, and he's just giving it to the Celtics every time he done it. And then to have him nail 2 of them, including that big 3 when they were down 6 to bring it within 3. And that just shut Van Gundy up so much. That was the best part of the both broadcasts. What about getting better as a player? One thing that Giannis has done, and Joe's absolutely right. He's the best player in the NBA today because every year he's worked on his game. He has gotten better, tougher, harder, fought through disappointment, and made the advances that you get from being somebody who just continues to raise his ceiling. So, they're going to be hard to beat, even without the number 2 guy. So, but the other centers, the other series, man, it's hard. It's going to be hard to beat the Warriors at home, and it's going to be hard to beat the Suns at home. So I have to go with both of those, even though I'll be rooting for the other team in both cases.
I'm going to say this, that Milwaukee better get them tomorrow at Milwaukee, because asking to win 3 times in Boston in a series, I don't know about that. But Milwaukee, I think, will win tomorrow.
It's the difference between being champions and not being champions.
Yes, but yeah, I mean, I'm just saying, if it goes back to Boston for Game 7, asking
it
Boston,
wouldn't surprise me
Milwaukee
though.
win.
It wouldn't surprise me, G. Boston's had choke-itis for the last few years. When they should have gone to the finals, especially in 2020. They should have. Yeah. They were ahead in a couple of those games extensively, and they ended up
bubble.
Which was a bummer too, because I was really rooting for them to get to the finals because I knew the Lakers were going to whoop them. That's another lost opportunity for the Lakers to beat the Celtics in the finals. I remember in 2002 was the other one, the 2020 was the other one, and obviously not beating them in 2008. They could have made up a lot of ground in that, but they couldn't get it. They couldn't do it.
Well, I think that Milwaukee will win at home. I also think Golden State will. I think I'm going with the favorites: Golden State, Milwaukee, and Phoenix. I think that it's great that Dallas has done what they can with the way that they run their offense, which is so Luka-centric at times, so ISO heavy. They run their shot. They run it all the way down to the shot clock, and sometimes they get in trouble because of it. But they're last in pace. But with everything aside, they do enough to win more times than not, and they've done a great job so far. But I don't think that they will go ahead and beat the Suns in Phoenix again. I also don't think that, again, Milwaukee will lose or Golden State will lose at home. So we'll see what happens, but we'll be back on Sunday night to go
Which
ahead.
Which one has the best chance of the 3?
To go all the way?
Well, which are the 3 underdogs that we just decided weren't going to win? Do you think has the best chance of pulling an upset in Game 7?
I say Dallas. I think, but Luka would have to go for 40 plus each and every time, and have to get Brunson. Brunson has to give him help.
Yeah.
Luka goes for 40 and no one helps him. They don't win. Luka goes for 40 and Brunson, or if one of the other shooters gets hot and gets them 20 to 25, then you've got something there that could sneak by the Suns. But again, it has to be a lot has to fall in line for Dallas. Yeah. And when it comes to Boston, like you said, Joe, their defense has to be on par. And you might need another out of the vintage game from Al Horford or someone out there to go ahead.
You need Tatum.
No, you need Tatum to beat Tatum. Tatum's
not playing.
They've been doing a great job of defense on Tatum,
and that's the problem. Is those
who's been doing part of it? Wes Matthews from the Lakers.
He's also been hitting his threes too.
Yes,
it helps when you have talent drawing stuff away. Plus, shooting in Milwaukee is different than shooting in LA. LA is. That's where shooters come to die.
This is true.
There's too much pressure in LA, guys. It's very hard to shoot in LA.
Yeah, ask Russell Westbrook. But I will go ahead and say that it is a great time indeed. We want to thank everybody for watching and listening, and totally appreciate you going ahead and checking us out. If you have anybody out there that's a Lakers fan, please go ahead and let them know about the Los Angeles Lakers and what's going on with the Lakers Fast Break. Please go ahead and let them know that we do a great job of trying to go ahead and break everything down for you. Again, if you have comments, at Lakers Fast Break on Twitter, Lakers Fast Break on YouTube. You've done a great job. Joe and I have been trying to cover a lot there as far as the great comments right there for you. Plus Facebook, you've been doing a great job there. Of course, LakersBall.com. Be part of the many topics of conversation there at LakersBall.com. And, of course, check out the awesome articles that LakerTom has And also Jamie Sweet has 5 things at Lakerholics.com. Well, once again, we will be back Sunday night to talk more Lakers, talk more NBA playoffs, and who knows what's coming up in the not too distant future for the team. But they're always making news, and it's a good thing because we can always go ahead and provide you good stuff right here at the Lakers Fast Break Podcast.